Usually you do that in reverse, not, okay. I'd like to call to order the October 14th meeting of the Shelby Township Planning Commission. I'll ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Mr. Snyder?
Here.
Mr. Long?
Here.
Ms. Baker?
Here.
Ms. Casali?
Here.
Mr. Turner?
Here.
Mr. Apone?
Here.
Mr. Larray?
Here.
Chairman Moffett, we have a quorum.
Great, thank you. First item is approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next, approval of the minutes from the September 9th meeting.
So moved. Support.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. First item is correspondence we received from the Charter Township of Washington regarding their master plan adoption. I'll ask the planner to comment.
Thank you, Chairman. The Charter Township of Washington is in the process of adopting their master plan. Last year, about this time, they provided a draft master plan. That master plan is consistent with the residential or the zoning districts on the south side of 26 Mile, which is Shelby, of course. Nothing has changed since that draft master plan proposal, and I don't have any objections with receiving and filing this motion.
Great, thank you. Are there any questions for the planner?
No.
Thank you. Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to receive and file.
Mr. Chairman, I move to receive and file the notice from Washington Township Master Plan Adoption.
Support.
It's moved and supported. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next item is site plan number 24-20. Nick Johnson is the petitioner here. Okay. Anyone who speaks this evening will need to, after you're done speaking, sign in. There's a sign-in sheet on the table.
Yep, good evening. My name is Nick Johnson, 222 East 5th Street, Tucson, Arizona, 85705, and I'm here on behalf of Mr. Car Wash, project manager. So, yeah, do we have the slides up, or otherwise I do have a presentation.
Okay.
I didn't know if you guys were pulling them up.
Yep, IT.
Okay.
You don't have it downloaded on that last. It's just a PowerPoint. Right, they'll get you going.
Thank you. All right, apologies for the delay there. So yeah, at Mr. Car Wash, we are the largest car wash in the country. We do have over 500 locations now, and we have identified Shelby Township as a market that we are excited about and that we want to be in. So this is kind of just a quick rendering of what our building would look like. Here's kind of the site location, located off of 23 Mile Road, 13246. It sits along the southern side of the 23 Mile Road. Here is the site plan itself. So as you enter, we can have generous space for two-way traffic for future development. We have a significant stacking lane, 24 cars estimated up into the 3-lane canopy POS station, 1 retail lane, and then 2 member lanes. With that member lane, you do have that RFID sticker on your windshield, and the gate will automatically lift for you and identify which wash that your membership is tied to. So when you get into the tunnel itself, it'll already recognize which wash you pay monthly on and will give you that wash. It is a 160-foot tunnel. In our northern, snowier, colder climates, we do like to use, that's our biggest tunnel that we offer. The building itself is about 6,500 square feet. With that longer tunnel, we've just identified that it provides a better wash and more of a chance for the car to significantly dry. And in the wintertime, we take that into serious consideration because we don't want water dripping off vehicles and, freezing to the ground itself. Also, to help mitigate that, we do have a trench drain located outside of the exit of the tunnel and heated concrete as well that will help kind of reduce that freezing water. You also, as you exit the tunnel, you climb upwards a little bit, and that just kind of helps get that water to drip more so off the vehicle into that trench drain. As you exit the wash, you can choose to leave, or you can utilize our vacuum spaces. We do offer 17 vacuum spaces with this site plan. Ample room. The spaces are wide, and there's vacuums on both sides, so it allows you to easily maneuver and get all aspects of your vehicle cleaned out. These are free to use too. You don't even need to utilize the wash to get into the vacuum spaces. And then our trash and vacuum enclosure is located at the back of the property near the tunnel entry. That'll help mitigate the noise from those vacuums, being away from the public road there. And so yeah, some of the changes that we have made included moving that vacuum trash enclosure to the back of the property. Also, we had some employee parking spots that were sitting in the setback. So we were also able to get those moved at the front, kind of by the tunnel exit there, in the vacuum aisle. That is, last time we were here, we kind of were going through a different process we were looking at, but we've since moved on from that, and we believe that this is a lot cleaner, a lot smoother, and allows us to operate the wash the way that we want to, and it fits a lot better. That's all I've got, and then I have just some building elevations here. So this is the trash enclosure. Here are the different building materials that will be used. Here's our POS canopy. It sits 14 feet tall. And then, yeah, like I said, just kind of a little overview of Mission Car Wash. We do have 31 existing and 18 future locations right now planned across Michigan. We have over 2.1 million Unlimited Wash Club members. That's our monthly membership. And yeah, we did just cross over 500 stores, so that 495 number is a little outdated. And then we do pride ourselves on our reclaim and recycling process through the wash itself. So through the whole tunnel, that 160-foot tunnel that I mentioned, there sits a drain underneath that collects all that water. It then filters it through 3 different settling tanks to kind of get out all the, sand, sediment, dirt, what have you. And then we recycle that water, and it is used back in the wash itself, up to 50% of that. And that's all I got. And then I am also joined by Jamie Antonevich from Atwell Engineering on the civil side. So if there are any civil engineering related questions, he can answer those, but I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys might have.
Okay, thank you. Nick, we get the planning department's comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Chairman. So this property was under review by the Planning Commission before at the August 12th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting. At that meeting, there were some concerns voiced by the planning staff and the Planning Commission members, namely the dumpster enclosure and the parking located within the front yard setback. Those 2 items have been moved, as Mr. Johnson went over. The trash enclosure is now at the rear of the site, and the employee parking has been moved beyond that front yard setback. So no variances will be required for the development any longer. So it's now a by right use within that light manufacturing district. The other point of contention was the rear of the property and what was going to be done with that. There were some discussions on whether it would be an industrial condominium for future development. That consideration has since been removed. The applicant has taken over the entire property, or plans to, for the car wash. So the rear of the property will now be used primarily for a turnaround for trash pickup, and it'll be seeded and sodded, so there's no more question as to what will be going on there at the rear of the property. Besides that, the other site plan review comments have been addressed. With this revision, anything else can be addressed during the engineer reviews of the project. The only other comment I wanted to provide you was to consider the location for the ground sign, make sure it fits within the 70-foot setback, and then consider the number of wall signs, but that can be handled at a future permit too.
Yep, understood. Thank you.
That's all I have, Chairman.
Great, thank you. To the board, are there any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner?
Nick, during the beginning of your statement, I want to clear up something, maybe I heard it wrong. You said the entryway off a 23-mile road will be ease of traffic for future development. What did you mean by that?
Yep, so, along that corridor, we obviously anticipate future development, so we will, in front of our property there, we'll have a common access drive.
Yeah, I misunderstood what you said. We're
Yeah, and
fine. Thank you.
I probably messed that up, so I apologize.
I think there's a T at the.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner?
I move to approve site plan number 24-20 for Nick Johnson of CWP West LLC for 13246 23 Mile Road, generally located on the south side of 23 Mile Road, west of Shaner, car wash facility. This approval is subject to the applicant submitting revised site plans addressing all departmental and the planning commission comments.
Support.
Moved by Turner, support by Pone. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Pone?
Yes.
Commissioner Loray?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Casali?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Good luck.
All right, thank you all, appreciate it.
Next item, site plan number 24-31, Anthony Rizzo. Good evening.
Good evening, guys. Jeff Rizzo with Fenn and Associates, 14493 Commercial Drive, Shelby Township. So we are here tonight looking at a vacant lot that's right next to our office, just to the west.
Okay.
So we're going to want it to look good. We're looking at doing a speculative building, approximately just over 10,000 square feet, with about 8,000 square foot of shop, the remainder being office space, and splitting it into 3 separate spaces, and most likely looking at renting at this time. So we don't have any specific users right now, but I'm sure we'll find someone. So I'm here to answer any questions you guys may have about the site plan. It's pretty self-explanatory.
Okay. Do you have any elevations that you can share for?
Yeah, on the flip side, I can,
Yeah, why don't you flip it over, so at least it'll get on camera. I need the comment. Punch at me. I was going to say, I thought this would be a little easier. My apologies. Okay, all right, thank
so
you.
this building's going to be very similar to the one on Lot 10 to the west, which is predominantly the split-face block.
Okay, good. Nick, you did the review on this as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, Chairman. So as Mr. Rizzo said, this is a multi-tenant spec industrial building they're looking to build here. The property is zoned LM, that's light manufacturing. All the surrounding properties are also zoned LM, light manufacturing. What they're proposing to do here is a by right use within that light manufacturing zoning district, just for a multi-tenant industrial building with shop space and office space, something that's permitted, very well by right there. The township considers this area as light industrial as part of the master plan. The site plan also meets the recommendations for improving those properties as well. What they provided us for a site plan, there's really not too much that would require revisions. There's just some minor notations that have to be added to the site plan to make sure it's compliant with our regulations. The biggest thing I wanted to draw attention to the Planning Commission was that the choice of the split-faced concrete block requires specific approval by the Planning Commission. Just make sure it's in line with the surrounding developments, it's aesthetically pleasing, and make sure it's not sticking out like a sore thumb amongst the rest of the industrial builds there. I will say a lot of the buildings in that industrial subdivision do have, brick-facing exteriors. Some of them have the concrete, split-face concrete block, and like Mr. Rizzo said, the property directly to the west was approved with the exact same facade material recently.
Okay.
That's
All
all
right,
I have,
thank you.
Chairman.
Any questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Snyder.
move to approve site plan number 24-31 Anthony Rizzo of JMR Building, Inc. for 14901 Commercial Drive, parcel number 230724426008, generally located north of 22 Mile Road, west of Hayes Road, multi-tenant industrial. This approval is subject to applicant submitting revised site plans addressing all departmental and planning commission comments. Support.
Moved by Snyder, support by Larray. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
Commissioner Pone?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Good luck.
Thank you.
Next item, excuse me, is a public hearing on site plan special land use number 24-26, James Grau, on behalf of St. John Vianney Church. I'll ask the secretary to read the public notice as published.
Charter Township of Shelby, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for approval of a special land use. Applicant, St. John Vianney Catholic Church, James Grau, 53800 Oakview Drive, Shelby Township, Michigan, 48315. Proposed use, site modifications and addition of a multi-purpose building and adoration chapel for an existing church facility. Location, 54045 Shaner Road, located south of 25 Mile Road on the west side of Shaner Road. Site plan SLU number 24-26. Sidwell number is 23-07-11-200-006. Legal description is as follows on the public hearing that was put out in our newspapers. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, October 14th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Building, Boardroom 52700 Van Dyke Avenue, Shelby Township, Michigan, 48316-586-726-7243, for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the site plan special land use. The application for the site plan special land use may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Act 110, 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. This was published in the Shelby Utica News on September 25th, 2024. There were 74 property owners and 2 applicants were notified by first-class mail on September 24th, 2024.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Kirk, did the publication meet all legal requirements?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. Was there any correspondence on this?
No, we did not receive anything,
Okay,
Mr.
thank
Chair.
you. The format for the public hearing will be as follows. The petitioner will come up, state what they're requesting, reasons for it. Then it'll come back to the board, and the commissioners may ask any questions that they may have. I'll then open it up to the public, and anyone in the audience is free to come up and ask any questions, offer their comments. I'll take those questions and then bring the petitioner back up to address whatever questions are raised. It's not a debate. The purpose of this is to educate the board on sort of all sides of an issue, so when our recommendation that we make to the township board is an educated one. With that, and again, let me remind anyone who speaks, please sign in after you're done.
Good evening, everyone. Phil Ruggieri, appearing on behalf of the petitioner. I'm happy to state that I'm also a parishioner of St. John Vianney. I've been so since 1986, and I've been able to see this church grow from a much smaller size to a larger size. And but I'm also sorry to say that we're outgrowing our size. We have been growing by leaps and bounds the past 3 years, and we have a strong faith-based need for activities within the community of the church. And we have our architect here, engineer, we have Father Grau here, and other representatives, Mr. Finelli, Mr. Pizzo. Basically, we are looking at taking the existing structure that's the rectory on the site and demolishing that and creating a multi-purpose facility which will accommodate our pastor and as well as the community needs that seem to be lacking. We have too many overlaps going on, only so many rooms to utilize where we have to put people off in order to accommodate them. This multi-purpose building will allow several different rooms that everybody can simultaneously utilize as opposed to be on a waiting list. So that's the crux of that building. And then we're adding an adoration chapel to the church itself, which will allow petitioners to have certain prayers, certain times throughout. And our architect has given us an elevation of what the building will look like. It'll pretty much mirror the existing decor of the church itself. It has very fine-looking brick elevations and windows and certain treatments, and I think it'll be a fine addition to the site as a whole. And this project will be self-funded by the parishioners themselves as opposed through the Catholic Church. We also are adding a ingress-only driveway to our petition to the northern part of the property. It's not a driveway that's going to be utilized to come in and out. It's strictly to come in off of Shaner. We don't really have a traffic problem at this time, but we can see as things go on with the expansion targeted for Shaner, with all the new housing going on, we do anticipate that road to be a lot busier than it does now, so we're providing for the future. This will eliminate some of the congestion that may exist during the church hours and activities that happen at the church. They'll allow the traffic going southbound to turn right into the northern new driveway to go in and park. But there'll be ample signs to turn away anybody trying to go back into that same driveway to exit the property. So it'll be just a one-way ticket to come in, and you have to utilize the other access points, which has a light there as well that regulates all the traffic. So we think that this is a great addition to the development. We've had Macomb County Department of Roads analyze it, and they're comfortable with it. And other than that, we've looked at the 8 standards that you're required to follow for the special land use approval, and we do meet all that criteria. This is something that will be harmonious with the entire area surrounding it. As you know, this is residentially zoned property, which churches fall into. Everything is built within the confines of this site, and it's simply just redefining the building itself and adding the chapel and a new driveway. So if you have any questions, our architect, engineer, they're here. If you need something from Father Jim to pray for you or whatever you need, he's here, and that can fill in any other detail. Other than that, if you have any questions, we're here to answer them.
So, given after the demands that you must place on him, I don't know that he has a whole lot of time to pray for anybody else. So.
Probably not.
So can you talk a little bit about the screening that you're proposing
Sure.
along that drive?
I don't know if you want to touch on screening, but we have provided in the plan ample screening to the, yeah, there you go. To the north, you want to take that on?
Sure. My name's John Vitale. I'm with the firm Stuckey and Vitale Architects, and I'm happy to present.
Can we get your
help
address,
present this
please?
project.
Address too, please.
27172 Woodward Avenue, Royal Oak, Michigan. As you can see, the site plan, we work very closely with the planning department to provide screening around the northern part of the site, as well as any screening around the proposed building and parking lot. So we have a pretty detailed landscape plan that provides adequate screening along all the property lines.
Okay. I believe the ordinance requires a wall.
No, I think what we're proposing, I think the neighbors would, rather than a wall, I think our preference would be to,
Go to ZBA for a variance?
if, does the ordinance require a wall? Then we'd be happy to go to, get a variance on that, but we think that a wall would be more.
Okay, we'll let the
aesthetically
neighbors weigh
pleasing.
in on that too.
We have a significant pond to the east of the property, the north, so that, we'd like to keep that effect still intact by not providing a wall, because it would hide it from the properties to the north. And they have expressed some interest in making sure we preserve that pond view.
Okay, okay. A couple of questions that I have. Now, will you allow left turns onto the one-way from Shaner?
I mean, coming out,
No, going northbound on Shaner, making a
Northbound on
left, going
Shaner.
through the main entrance and making a
well,
left turn.
you've got the existing driveway.
Well, I get that, but. you
I
know,
don't see the purpose. There's a light there, so it controls that traffic significantly going north. It's mainly for the southbound Shaner traffic.
Okay.
I don't anticipate northbound traffic utilizing that. I can't say it would never, but I doubt it.
Okay. Okay. And I've got a comment on having an auxiliary building for, I taught catechism at St. John Vianney for 12 years, 7th and 8th graders. Actually, Commissioner Casali's son was one of my students one year. My biggest issue was keeping him awake after hockey practice. And so, yeah, I fully appreciate, and it's long overdue that a facility that dedicated to that purpose. So, to the board, any questions, comments? No? Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay, this is the only public hearing the Planning Commission will hold on this rezoning request and special land use. Actually, not rezoning request, special land use. Your remarks will be entered into the record for Township Board evaluation. The Planning Commission is a recommending body. The Township Board will take consideration of these comments when making the final decision on this request. Now, at this point, anyone from the audience is free to come up and offer their comments and ask any questions they have.
My name is Jerry Claft. I live behind the church, and my concern is, on Shaner, currently there's a traffic light, and where they want to build this road, to my understanding, is just like 100 feet from the traffic light, and they want it to be egress one way, so there are 6 of us that I think are impacted, neighbors. And I guess I don't understand the need for the road. I mean, it isn't an immediate need, we just heard that. It's a future thing. But it's going to impact all of our driveways. Whatever mass is there, whatever event Father has, today they had a Halloween event, and people are going to be coming behind our house for every event. And I want to see the need for the road. I don't understand the need for the road. I really would like to hear the need for the road. I haven't heard it. It's just, it may be needed in the future. And then the other thing is, right now there's a berm kind of separating the church property from the local residents' property. And whether you have pets or anything, you know, your pets could get killed. They deliver donuts. There's a dumpster there. The garbage comes 8 o'clock in the morning. It's a lot of, it's a disruption to my backyard. So I would like, if this does go through, at least a brick wall.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is James Bashai. I live at 13430 Deagle, which is on the north side of that road that's being preserved. I'm the house that's the fifth one over. And I did visualize some of these plans back on September 11th, and then when I brought it back to the attention of my wife and others, there were more concerns that I have. The biggest problem we have is that road. There's a lot of events at that church. The one thing I was told at that time on September 11th is that the road would be used only on Saturday and Sunday, which are their busiest days. There's other events going in the evenings, but that road is going to be used. But there was no guarantee that I have that that road's going to be used during the week. From my understanding, I don't know if the fire department's going to allow a block on that road at Shaner. I'm also understanding that Shaner is going to be expanded next year to include a turn lane that goes completely from 25 all the way down to 24 Mile Road. So the traffic will at least be alleviated for the light that's currently there. But that road is going to cause, and I'm hearing my neighbor's concern, is going to cause a lot of traffic and people misusing that lane and coming in and out. I don't know how the speed is going to be for cars coming in. There are kids that may go over that little mound. There were trees that were there. There were spruces that were put down on that mound, but they're all decayed. Now there's a complete view of the church. There's nothing hiding it, and nobody can see you. There's no sound dubbing of any nature whatsoever. The biggest concern I have, and that is the item number 5, which is the dumpster. The dumpster is in a location where the use is for the back catering services coming in, for any events that are there in which they're feeding food or whatever. But the thing is that dumpster is a noisy thing to begin with, because the trucks are coming in at sometimes at 6:30 in the morning, dumping that thing. And at the same time, the move from where it is, I can point it. That dumpster is currently about here. Okay, and it's going to be moved to directly behind my property and the neighbor you just heard. What I'm worried about is with that noise, not just that, it's moving closer to my home. So I'm worried about the summer stench, flies, mosquitoes, and all that issue that's going to be there. That dumpster cannot be there. I'm opposing that completely. That's got to be moved somewhere in either the rec area that's to the west on the property toward the end of the parking lot, so that we don't have that problem. If I want to sell my home to families with children in the future, it's going to be difficult to make that sell because of that road being there. A wall, if that road has to be built for some reason, I don't see the need for it yet. But the problem is if that road is going behind it and you put a wall, that's just going to be a big detractor. It's ugly on the back of our property. Instead of having a more nicer look and more pretty look with the trees and other bushes that could be put in that place. So that's a concern I have. And I don't know where they're going to do the catering after that, because that's the only entrance on the back side of the building. So my concern is with that traffic. The traffic, if I'm understanding it correct, and I don't know what the plans are of that either, I've not seen them. If you're expanding and widening Shaner, that may help a little bit with the southbound and the northbound traffic, because at least they can get in their lanes, and especially on the Saturday and Sunday traffic, all of us can drive much with more ease down north and south on Shaner. But we may not have that until that happens. If that road goes in there, Okay, we got these people winding around, and there's lots of cars. Mr. Ruggieri mentioned something very key. The church is growing. They have a large, a large amount of parishioners. Especially you should see it on Easter and Christmas Eve. Their overflow of the parking lot goes onto Deagle Drive, both sides of the street, all the way down. Some people are cutting across our properties to get into the parking lot as the easier way to go. So that back area to me is very sensitive. And when I told this to my wife, she had lots of concerns. I don't want it. I don't want that, period. It's going to make the property worse for us and others, the other 5 properties that are there. Any other? If you want to speak to, yeah. So I'll defer to my wife. She'll come up and make any further comments.
Okay, can you sign in, please?
Okay.
Right, there's a sign in, Sherry. There's a go. And then-
Good evening. Monique Bishai, 13430 Deagle Drive, Shelby Township. My concern is noise, and lots of it. My concern is pollution. I just built a $25,000 deck on my backyard, and that driveway is going to be literally 15 to 20 feet away from my deck, where I constantly entertain family and friends, whether they have small children, they have pets. I constantly have people here. The garbage is a big concern. It's already about 35 feet away from my house, and I can smell it on an 80-degree day. Now they're proposing to move it 15 to 20 feet away from my house. What's that going to do to my property value? I'm really concerned about that driveway. There's no need, absolutely no need for it. These cars are going to be coming in. Some of the masses are at 7 o'clock in the morning with the lights on. My house is there. I don't have shades. I like it open and airy. What's that going to do to the enjoyment of my sanctuary, my home? I'm really concerned about this driveway. Thank you.
Ma'am, could you sign in, please?
By the way, my children had catechism classes at St. John Vianney as well.
Hopefully I didn't scar them.
Good evening. My name is Greg Malozic. I live at 13588 Deagle. I am on the corner house. This visual here doesn't do justice to what's going on. When I was at the township, I saw the actual print, and from what I saw, when they widen Shaner, there's going to be a deceleration lane, and that deceleration lane is north of Deagle, and will continue to go south of Deagle till you hit this driveway. So anybody coming out from Deagle onto Shaner is going to have an obstructed view of the cars going at least 50 miles an hour, because most cars go over the speed limit. There's going to be a fatal accident. That's my concern. I don't see the need for the driveway. The light, when they put the traffic light in, was supposed to alleviate traffic problems going in and out of the church. When they built the Silver Dome, they didn't widen Updike Road. They used the center lane for before the game, you went one way. After the game, you went the other way in the same lane. They can do that with the 3 lanes that they have at the light. They don't really need an ingress. Aside from that, the ingress, people don't come to the church all at the same time. They all leave at the same time, but they don't come in at the same time. So, you know people are going to be going out that way, regardless of whether there's signs or not. So, my concern is the safety. The rest of the plan, I don't have a problem with. If the church is growing and they need more space, fine. But don't put a driveway behind my house and make it more difficult for me to get out of my subdivision onto a main road. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name's Tom Holtz, and I live at 13490 Deagle Drive, which is the third house in off of Shaner. I've been there 17 years with my wife and my family. And, I'm not going to sit here and go over everything everyone's just said. I personally think this is just an unbelievably horrible idea to stick this back there. I don't have a berm. Our yard is level with where the church is, so we're not going to have anything blocking it other than trees. We have 2 daughters, and one is married, has 2 pets that come over all the time, small dogs. We're very afraid they're going to cut through there and get hit by somebody that's going to be coming in. People are going to be speeding because that's just the nature of people. People are going to be going out because that's just the nature of people. And it's just going to be a dangerous road. It's going to be destroying what we look at all the time, which is a good 25 trees back there. It's going to be destroying all the nature back there with squirrels live back there, birds come in, ducks come in. That pond that they're talking about brings in geese every year that migrate and raise their young there when they're born. I mean, the whole idea is just an unbelievably horrible idea. Sorry I said that again. But I just really hope that all of you take that into consideration, and you're all welcome to come to Deagle and see just exactly how close this is to at least the first 4 houses in, so you can get a real good idea of just how this is, because I would say that none of you would want that in your backyard. I just guarantee it. So that's all I have to say. I thank you for your time.
Okay, can you sign in, please?
I can sign in totally.
Good afternoon. I'm Tamika Brown. I live at 13534 Deagle Drive. I'm the second house off of the corner off of Shaner. And I echo the sentiments of my neighbors. I'm concerned about the noise, the traffic flow. It is just very close to our backyards. When you talk about a sign controlling the traffic coming in and only using it one way, a lot of people don't pay attention to signs. I'm concerned about the traffic coming in outside of the days that they designated, outside of the Saturdays and the Sundays. I'm concerned about that. I'm concerned about the noise, just the traffic. We talked about some of the landscaping and all of that, which is fine, but this is like literally having a driveway in your backyard. And so you can still hear, you can still see. By the time they plant the trees, they won't be at full maturity, so you'll still see the traffic going in and out of your backyard. And it's like my neighbors, we do have blinds, but most of the time we keep the blinds up. That is one of the reasons why we purchased a home. I've been here for 9 years. So that was one of the attractive features, is the windows and the view. So I'm concerned about that, and I'm also concerned about the resale value when it's time to resell my home, having a driveway so close to my backyard. So those are my concerns. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Going once, twice? Okay. I'll ask the planner to offer her comments.
Thank you, Chairman. We had undergone a preliminary site plan review on this site plan. Most of the comments that are in these site plan review comments have been addressed. In addition to the special land use approval, this site plan also needs to meet section 4.4, churches and private school, which it does meet since it's an existing site. The only concern that I had is section 5.17A, which requires the 5-foot wall along that northern property line. Whenever there's a driveway that's abutting a residential district, a 5-foot screen wall needs to be put in. So this is one of those things that it's up to the Planning Commission, and the sentiment that we've heard from the neighbors. Sometimes when you put up a screen wall, you have to remove existing trees, and I don't know if some of those trees are dead, dying, or diseased, then, it would make sense to put in a screen wall, but I guess this is something for the Planning Commission to decipher, and the applicant on how they want to proceed with this.
Okay, thank you. Petitioner, so questions were entirely about the driveway.
Sure.
Well, let me ask about the dumpster. are there options to move that? I mean, why not move it back to a backboard by the kind of summer gazebo, the space in the back?
Right, the dumpster has to be 20 feet off the property lines, which I believe it does meet that requirement.
Yeah, but those,
Yes, it can be.
realistically, those, and again, the subdivision was built after the church, I know, but, 20 feet from, those are really narrow backyards. I mean, if we can somehow find another place to put that, I think at least one
So-
problem I think we can alleviate.
So there is a structure at the very most western part of the property. There is a structure there, so maybe that dumpster can be relocated there. I know it's quite a hike for the, garbage people to get back there and dump, but I guess that is an option. The only thing that I also wanted to mention, I know that there was talk about expansion of Shaner Road. That's kind of a touchy situation. I mean, we have enough, hard time getting roads expanded in the township, where we need. So, I mean, to say that, that's going to be expanded in the next couple years is kind of the pie in the sky kind of.
I think we're still fighting for 23 to 24, yet to go to 25 to
Right.
4 to 5 to 6, and so, I mean, it could be 10 years.
Easily.
Yeah.
Easily.
Okay. So, Mr. Ruggieri, so being able to control the traffic that's coming in,
Yeah, I don't think that's an issue. I mean, signs are signs, and they'll be definitive enough that they'll deter anybody from going there. Probably in the beginning, you'll have to monitor it, making sure that it's being complied with, but as time goes on, they'll realize that it's not usable to go out.
so the church would monitor.
Sure they would.
How about speed? Are there any,
I'm sorry, the what?
the speed, there was questions about the speed of the traffic coming down the driveway.
Well, I guess you could put some type of a speed limit on her, but we don't have that existing now coming into the church. There's no signs, and I take exception about people speeding into the church. They don't do that. They're very accommodating. They drop people off at the door entranceway. Everybody stops, and they wait till the people get back in that car that need to and take off. They're very accommodating. They're courteous. They don't fly through that church, and I've been there since '86.
If I may also offer.
Yes.
I think we'd be open to providing a speed bump or other speed control devices in addition to signage. I think that would be appropriate to help, contain the speed limit on that road.
Okay.
Certainly work on the dumpster issue at the best of our ability. I understand the current dumpster proposed is pretty much within the vicinity of the existing site, so I'm sure we'll work through it.
Okay. I mean, there was question about a demand. I think, in my experience also as a parishioner coming southbound on Shaner, a lot of folks, people come up 3 minutes before Mass, to get in, so there is sort of that traffic jam. You've got people, the southbound traffic making the right turn in, and you've got a lot of folks coming northbound to make the left. And so it does create a bit of an issue. So, I mean, actually, I do see it could potentially alleviate when you get that traffic going right. It'll be easier for folks to make left-hand turns.
Sometimes you're playing chicken, with these.
Yeah, but that, I mean, again, those are just the cases of Sunday morning, the sort of the Sunday morning traffic, maybe a little bit Saturday, the evening. I got to imagine through the events through the week, most folks are going to use the main entrance because that's the most convenient.
Yeah, our biggest traffic is Saturday, Sunday.
Okay. The board have any questions for the petitioner? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let me ask, let me close the public hearing. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Support.
Support.
Support, all in favor?
Aye.
Let me just kind of take a poll of the board on if we were to approve this wall, brick, some sort of 5-foot wall or enhance some landscaping, what are your druthers with this? We'll start with Mr. Snyder.
I'm in favor of the wall. I mean, if we're going to approve the egress road, I would definitely think we need a wall.
So is that a suggestion that the road is already approved then?
No, I said if we were going to.
Ms. Gazzelli?
Yeah, I have a question, maybe to the planner. The proposal is to build the road, but in order to do that, following our requirements, they need to have a wall.
That's correct.
Okay. So there's not a choice here. We're not voting on, they can come and ask, they do have a right to put the road there if a wall is there.
That's correct. That would meet the ordinance requirements.
So they do have a right to. So,
That's fair. Then tell you, I'll rescind that, and we can allow that process. It is a special land use request, so we could make that sort of part of the condition of this.
I see.
You know, so this body could take control of that, or let's just, if whatever we decide, just go through the process. It would require a wall, and if they wanted a variance from that, they'd have to go to the ZBA.
the special land use, is it for the buildings and the driveway?
Correct, the entire site, the modifications that they're proposing.
Well, I guess I would, my opinion is if we do approve it, we would need the wall. I would require the wall.
Okay, so I guess I'm looking for a little direction from the board. Do we, well, I guess whoever the motion maker is, you know, and supporter is going to determine how they want to do that. I'm just saying, try to front run that. I mean, the process as it is existing would be we would require a wall, and they would need to have a wall, you know. And, but we could make an exception or amend, you know, the motion reflect that they don't have the wall, they can do it if the screening is sufficient. Okay.
Okay, well-
And then in case, then if they wanted to make, it, you know, to appeal that, if they wanted to get a variance to that requirement, they would go to the zoning board of appeals to alter that.
Okay.
Yes.
Can I continue? Then I do have a question for the petitioners on how, I do struggle with the necessity of the driveway. Nobody's, we're all in agreement, and we think that the additions to the church are good. Because of the additions, is the additions driving the need for the driveway? Can you make the additions without the driveway, and it's a workable condition?
I'm going to have Mr. Finelli address that specifically, since he's the mastermind behind all this.
Father Jim's listening to confessions after the meeting. Anthony Finelli. I've been a parishioner for St. John Vianney for 32 years, and we've seen the church grow, obviously, tremendously over these 32 years. So to answer that question, straightforward. Sunday is a problem. I come from the south, okay? So when I go to the church, I drive in from the south. I'm literally in line to make that left-hand turn while we wait for the right-hand turn people coming in. And I believe tonight you took a master plan from Washington Township. That master plan has growth on it. We're growing. Section 1 is being developed right now. I mean, it isn't that much further in the future that we're anticipating a bigger problem. The gentleman asked about having a fatal accident. Well, we've avoided some fatal accidents right now. And this was the purpose of this one-way in access drive. It's not a road, it's access drive. The speed, there's no speed concern here. People are coming to church, they're dropping people off. It's not a speed trap, it's not a speedway. So yes, the access road is very much needed because we are growing and it's going to constantly get worse. The multi-purpose building that we talked about and the adoration building are just capital improvements that the church is looking for. The parishioners are asking for it. And, you know, it's one of those things that I think is a very positive community asset. I understand about the neighbors. I do. That's why we took all that time to create the screening that we did. In fact, we invited them to a meeting. Only 2 showed up, by the way. So we were concerned about the neighbors. We invited them. We want to make sure that they were comfortable with it. But here we are tonight dealing with something that is very necessary. And I think the board understands, the planning board understands that necessity. The access road is going to be used
primarily on Saturday evening and 3 masses on Sunday. Of course, the holidays, Easter and Christmas. All the other times, there's no other traffic coming back and forth there. They're going to use the primary driveway. There's no reason to use that access driveway. So it's to alleviate some other problems that I can see that become a serious problem. So I would appreciate the board looking at that and considering that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes. Well, based on those comments, it made me think of the neighbors that border the driveway, and maybe we as a board shouldn't be the ones to decide what they want. If we approve the proposal and the road, maybe the petitioner and the neighbors work together. I've heard that some want the decorative trees and some would rather have a wall for safety. So, if we approve the road, maybe they work it out amongst themselves as to what the 6, 8, 10 homes would want.
Excuse me, one more thing. I did talk to the road commission. I just want you to understand, the road commission is all on board with this. They understand the safety factor on this as well, just so that the planning commission is clear on that. Talking to the road commission, usually it's tough to get these things approved or even looked at.
Excuse me, sir, could you go to the microphone, please? Sure.
I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you that. We had an extensive discussion with the road commission on this topic, and they were fully aware and fully approved of what we were proposing here, because they do understand the problem. And yes, this program about expanding Shaner is in next year's planning, but that could be another 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, just because it's in the 2025 program. So, thank you.
No, we closed the public hearing. This is sort of internal, yeah, we did, yeah. Okay. So our recommendation this evening must be based on the following standards: compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistent with and promote the intent and purpose of the special land use role, compatibility with the natural environment, consistent with the capacities of public services and facilities affected by the proposed use, protect the public health, safety, and welfare, and the adequacy of public access to the site. We may recommend approval to the board, we may disapprove the request, or table it to evaluate this information we receive further. At this point, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
before I make a motion, I just want to have a comment. I was told when I was on the Planning Commission from 1992 to 1996 by the chairman at that time, he said, when you have a plan that's been ordained by a higher power, you need to tread lightly on that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move to postpone, one second, site plan special land use number 24-26 for James Grau, St. John Vianney Catholic Church, 54045 Shaner Road, located south of 25 Mile Road on the west side of Shaner Road. To give the applicant time to show us a plan with the relocation of the dumpster, and to consider the walls, well, I'd like to consider the wall's impact on, as Mrs. Casali mentioned, the trees and the damage that might do to the trees. I'd like to further understand that, to see the wall, see the impact on the trees, see the full screening that they're proposing, and I believe the applicant needs to have more than one meeting with the residents, and only 2 show up. Get them involved in the discussion to find out what exactly they would like for the screening or the wall or the trees or something behind their home, so we can make this work. I don't want to see this get into a big back and forth. I don't think we need to do that. So that, I guess that's a convoluted motion, but that is the basis of what I'd like to put forth as a motion for tonight.
Is there support for that motion?
Support.
Moved by Turner, support by Snyder. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner.
Yes.
Commissioner Ray.
Snyder.
Oh, I'm sorry. Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Okay. Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
Commissioner Rapone?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Casali?
Yes.
Secretary Moore?
Yes.
The chair votes yes. The motion is, the matter is postponed. And anyone who has spoke, or if you receive notice, you'll get notice of the next time this is on the agenda. Next item is also a public hearing, a straight rezoning petition 2430, Mike Lachurko. I'll ask the secretary to read the notice as published.
Charter Township of Shelby, notice of public hearing. Notice is hereby given that the Planning Commission for the Charter Township of Shelby, Macomb County, Michigan, has received a request for approval of a special land use. Applicant, MJC Land Investments LLC, Michelle Churko, 46600 Romeo Plank Road, Suite 5, Macomb, Michigan 48044, proposed zoning and use. Rezoning from R1 and R1A, one-family residential, to R1B, one-family residential. Location, 14671, 14735, 14763, 15075, 25 Mile Road, 55465 Hayes Road, vacant parcel numbers 23-07-01-451-012 and 23-07-01-476-001, north of 25 Mile Road, west of Hayes Road. Straight rezoning number 24-30. Sidwell numbers 23-07-01-451-007, 23-07-01-451-014, 23-07-01-451-013, 23-07-01-451-012, 23-07-01-476-001, and also 23-07-01-476-018, and finally 23-07-01-476-003. Legal description for each parcel just mentioned. Sidwell numbers are as follows. The Planning Commission will meet on Monday, October 14th, 2024 at 7 p.m. in the Shelby Municipal Township Building, Boardroom 52700 Van Dyke Avenue, Shelby Township, Michigan 48316, 586-726-7243 for the purpose of holding a public hearing on the rezoning application. The application for the rezoning may be examined at the Planning and Zoning Department in the municipal building Monday through Friday from 8:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. Written comments may be submitted to the Planning Commission at the above address prior to the hearing. Oral comments will be heard during the public hearing. This notice is provided pursuant to the requirements of Michigan Public Act 110 of 2006 as amended. Shelby Township Planning Commission, Jerome Moffett, Chair, Raquel Moore, Secretary. This was published in the Shelby Utica News on September 25th, 2024. 218 property owners, 2 applicants, and 9 utilities were notified by first-class mail on September 24th, 2024.
Great, thank you. Mr. Kirk, did this meet all requirements, this posting?
Yes, it did.
Okay, thank you. Do we receive any correspondence on this request?
No, we did not.
Okay, thank you. Format will be sort of the same as what we just experienced. The petitioner will be called up, state what they're requesting, the reasons for it. Commissioners then will be allowed to ask questions, and then open up the floor to the public to offer any comments, ask any questions. We'll take note of those, bring the petitioner back up to respond to those before we make a decision. So with that, I'll ask the petitioner or representative to name and address, and what are you asking of this body?
Good evening, Mario Izzy with MJC Companies, 46600 Romeo Plank, Macomb Township. Thank you for the opportunity this evening. We're here tonight, we're asking for a rezoning to a collection of parcels that we put together over the last 2 or 3 years off of 25 Mile Road. Just to be clear, we're not asking for site plan approval tonight. We have a long process ahead of us, as I'm sure everybody up here knows and understands, but I'm not sure if the neighbors understand that. It takes a long time to get a project approved before we can actually put a shovel in the ground and actually start a home. So this is just step one for the rezoning. We're asking for the R1B, which is in compliance with the master plan. I believe that allows us for 90-foot lots minimum. Currently, the property, the taxes are paid. We have no violations against us on the property that I'm aware of. We're maintaining the property within the noxious weed ordinance. We do mow it from time to time. Other than that, because we're so early in the process, we don't even have homes picked out just yet what we're going to build here. I imagine it would be something similar to what we're building in the Preston Manors development currently on the east side of Shaner, north of 25 Mile Road. But because this takes so much time and architectural styles change, I would be insulting you if I brought you.
Given this, it's not a conditional rezoning, so really,
Correct.
we're just dealing with changing
use.
it's just land use.
Yes, sir. So
okay.
other than that, I'm here for any questions, and I appreciate the opportunity. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. To the board, do they have any question of the petitioner? Seeing none, let me do this is the only public hearing the planning commission will hold on this rezoning request. Your remarks will be entered into the record for township board evaluation. The planning commission is a recommending body. The township board will take into consideration these comments when making the final decision on the rezoning. Anyone in the audience at this time is free to come up and offer any comments or ask any questions at this time.
Good evening. My name is Tim Sawicki. I live at 55570 Hayes Road. I am in Macomb Township, not Shelby Township. I live across the road from this. My property is 5 acres. I bought it because it's a nice large piece of property with few neighbors, and there's not a lot of traffic on Hayes Road right now. Allowing this property to be rezoned to R1B makes smaller property sizes, means more homes, means more traffic on that road. My neighbor to the north of me owns 7 acres. My neighbor to the south of me owns 5 acres as well. We all moved into this area because of nice big acreage, open areas. Allowing this to happen in Shelby Township right across the road is going to bring in more traffic and more hassle in that area. Thank you.
Okay, could you sign in, please? Anyone else wish to comment?
Hi, I'm Bonnie Cole, 14809 Chatham Drive, Shelby Township, Michigan. I've lived, well, the house has been there for 37 years. My dad had it, and he passed away, so I'm living there now. I just don't know, like, when you say smaller lots, bigger houses.
Address the board, then we'll ask them whatever
I'm sorry?
questions you have. Address your questions to the board,
Okay,
and then
so
we'll ask you.
smaller lots, so R1B is smaller lots? Is that smaller houses? Because we have, and this is going to sound conceited, but we have a lot of luxury homes in this area, so we don't want smaller houses to bring down our value.
Okay.
And I live right at 25 Mile Road, so so I've got the woods that I see across the street all the time. So I just worry about the animals, but that's all.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to comment or questions?
Hi, my name is Monica McDougall. We live at 55355 Hayes Road, so we back up right to that property. It's really nice not having like neighbors right now. I understand there's a subdivision coming in. We got, our lot's not as big as some of the neighbors. So just with smaller lots, bigger homes, are they going to be butting right back up to our property is, I guess, our question, what kind of our fear is, because we're going to have neighbors right in the back of us.
Again, this is just for the land use, so we don't even know what they would propose. That's another process.
So like the lots and stuff, like, but it's for smaller lots, right?
Yeah, there'll be 90 by 160, I think, roughly.
So there's
ish.
smaller lots, so there will be more homes in that one area as well,
Yeah,
with a lot more
potential-
traffic
pot-
and stuff
potentially,
with
yeah.
a 2-lane road that people already are going 55, 60, 70 down at night and stuff like that. Okay,
Potentially.
yes.
Anyone else?
I'm Pat Samasco. I live at 14989 25 Mile. And I think out of all the property where I live, it's going to be most impacted by the development because my house is in between the two driveways that are going on to 25 Mile. But to be quite honest, we lived there for 20 years. We own the property for 30 years. We've been waiting for this coming. My wife is very attentive. She came over to the planning department and saw what they have. And we asked the guys to come over, Mario and Mr. Churko, and they were very attentive. They came over, answered all the questions that we have. We understand that it's going to happen, and the plans that they have looks about as good as it can be. They said with the pond, which is very important to the family, they plan on taking, making sure that it's protected, and I think they're going to do a good job, and I don't have any objections for it, so I'm sure that's sort of uncommon to hear, but
Yeah, usually I'm getting yelled at. Usually I'm getting yelled at, so, yeah, thank you. Anyone else wish to comment? Going once, twice? Bring it back to the board. Planner, for your comments? Oh, was there some? Okay, sorry. I was going to say, you make me look a bad guy here.
Thank you, Chairman.
Yes.
So the applicant provided a lot more information on this rezoning request than initially they would be required to. It is consistent with the master plan designation. A lot of the developments that we've been approving in the Section 1 and 2 areas is based under the R1B zoning district. Again, they'll have to come back for these, development of this property. I just wanted to also point out, though, they are proposing 1.5 units per acre for this R1B development, which is a lot less than the R1B typical development, which is 3 units per acre. So it's between R1 and R1A, which is, R1A is 1.45 units per acre, and then R1A is 2.2, R1 is 1.45. So this R1B zoning designation is straddled in between those two zoning districts. The only thing that I just wanted to mention to the site plan comments, also a reference, more information on there than typically is required, so the setbacks are slightly modified, but that will all be reviewed at a separate meeting when they submit for the development itself.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Petitioner wish to make any final comments?
I want to thank Julie for pointing that out as far as the density goes. We're trying to keep in spirit with the sizes of the ordinance that are required. And sometimes just dumb luck because of the stormwater requirements, the engineering requirements that we're going to be required to have for these developments, and it's ever changing. Sometimes we just don't get the density that we want. I would love to develop these all 2-3 acre lots. We do acreage developments in other communities where septic and well exists and public utilities are not in existence. This one does have sanitary sewer. We bought this property keeping the master plan in mind, knowing that we had the ability for this kind of density here, even though we're not, bad word, extorting it or pushing it to the limit. So we would appreciate if you would look favorably on our R1B request. And thank you for the opportunity again.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move.
Support.
Moved and supported, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Our recommendation this evening must be based on the following: compatibility with adjacent land uses, consistent with and promote the intent and purpose of the special land use, compatibility with the natural environment, consistent with the capacities of public services and facilities affected by the proposed use, and to protect the public health, safety, health, safety, and welfare, and the adequacy of public access to the site. We may recommend approval, we may disapprove this request, or we could table it to evaluate the information further. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Moore.
I move to recommend approval to the Township Board for rezoning petition number 24-30 from Michelle Churko, MJC Land Investments, LLC, 14671, 14735, 14763, 15075, 25 Mile Road, 55465 Hayes Road, and 2 vacant parcels. Parcel numbers 23-07-01-451-007, 23-07-01-451-012, 23-07-01-451-013, 23-07-01-451-014, 23-07-01-476-001, 23-07-01-476-003, and 23-07-01-476-018, located on the north side of 25 Mile Road, west of Hayes Road. Proposed rezoning from R1 and R1A, one-family residential, to R1B, one-family residential, based on the following. Number one, the R1B zoning classification is consistent with the predominant zoning pattern in the northeast quadrant of the community. Number two, the planned extension of sanitary sewers to this portion of the township supports an increase in density. Number three, the change is not out of scale with existing development patterns in this area of the township. Number four, the chance in zoning would provide a more uniform and consistent development pattern.
Support. Moved by Moore, support by Larray. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
Commissioner Opone?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
Yes.
Chair votes yes. Good luck.
Thank
Next item is site plan number 23-03, Eric Greenfield for SBA Communications.
Good evening. My name is Eric Greenfield. I'm here with the SBA Communications to discuss the tower site located at 14812 Lakeside Drive. First, let me start out by saying that my colleague with T-Mobile met with Julie Mish on August 8th to begin the discussion of potentially converting the tower from a stealth structure to a non-stealth structure. So at that meeting, it was asked that we supply the letter that you probably have in your packet to start the discussion. That's why I'm here. I don't expect that there will be any vote or any final determination made tonight. Just want to start the discussion and see if there would be support or not support and figure out how T-Mobile can better serve the residents in the community of Shelby Township. And I am open for questions.
Okay. To the board, any questions for the petitioner? Comments? I guess I'll, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Yeah, you supplied some photographs for us, and so really you're just keeping one pole and adding the triangle section on.
Essentially,
This
yes.
base-
Right now, I'm sure you're aware that the pole is stealthed in the fact that it has a flag. Moving forward, there would no longer be a flag. It would just be a traditional monopole structure capable of supporting additional tenants, which is important. Back in the day when this tower was built, equipment was much smaller than it is now. There was not the need for antennas the size that they are to provide the data and capacity that we all like. I'm sure every one of you has a phone in their pocket that is using data as you speak. That tower right now isn't capable of supplying that type of data that is needed for the community. Also, the area was much less developed at that time compared to what it is now with Costco and Meijer, and I think there's a Tim Hortons and numerous other businesses.
I have a question for the petitioner. Will your change in this modification, will this support any of your, like, other competitors, or is this just for T-Mobile?
Well, I'm actually with SBA Communications. We are the owner of the structure.
Right.
To answer your question, yes, it would support additional carriers, Verizon, Dish, AT&T, if they were wanting to co-locate on that tower. It would be our hope that they would, because they're not limited to in size by the equipment that they can place there. So it's beneficial for all parties for this change to happen.
Thank you.
I guess I would look to some feedback from the neighbors, because this was approved when that and it's a nice little development. Now this could pretty significantly impact sort of their view. So they bought in knowing it was, or whether aware or not aware, that it was a cell tower, but it was stealth and it was nothing that was going to be visibly detractive from their neighborhoods. And now you're proposing back sort of more to the more old-fashioned, something that's a cell tower and looks like. I don't think anyone's going to argue with the need for that. We're all consumers. But I just sort of, I hate to have approved something, and I think we got something else coming in, approve something that then, at some point say, well, no, that's not really what we wanted. We need something more, something different. Now it's gonna aesthetically impact the people that live there. And so I would look for some kind of feedback from them to say, if they don't care because they have to live with it, that's gonna sway sort of the decision that I have. And it's sort of hard to really, from the renderings that we were shared with, to really understand what the scope is and what kind of impact that's going to be. I'm not saying I need an answer, but it's, that's something that I'm going to have to wrestle with before I make a decision.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. Turner?
Yeah, I would agree with you. I'm looking back through these minutes from 20 years ago, and there was a lot of discussion that went into whether or not a typical versus a monopole. Meijer was involved in this discussion. And certainly I'm not an expert on any of this, so I guess if you wanted to go through the process and we'd have a public hearing and get the public feedback and find out what the people want in the area, if they're okay with the change, I'm okay with it. I don't want to force it on them, like I don't want to force a wall on a church people. But that's up to the people in the area, because there was a great deal of discussion on this in 2004 and 2005. That I don't want to then upset the apple cart in 2024 and say, well, I understand what you all did, but we know better, so we're going to go ahead and change it now. So I think, as you said, Mr. Chairman, I want to hear from the people in the area.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess, back to my original thought, there's no immediate, absolutely no, it wouldn't be considered that's, we're not going to just put the foot down and say no, so to speak. You'd be open to an application going through a typical process, public hearing and so forth. I guess the other thing to throw in there is, and this is just for information's sake and discussion, if we're not able to convert this, it is very likely that T-Mobile is probably going to have to look to build another site somewhere else in the very close proximity. Where that would be or how tall a structure would be, or that is unknown. But just to throw that out there for information's sake, if we can't convert it, then
That's why we have a zoning department, and that's why we have a planner.
Mr.
There are
Chairman.
places in the township that those are allowed.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I want to throw something else out at you. I had heard, now you can help me because I'm not an expert. Is there a movement toward reducing the number of towers because of the change and coming in new technology? Is that something that's happening, or is that something I was just...
that sounds like urban legend.
What's that?
That sounds
It's
like
an
urban legend. Yeah, there's going to be no need or desire to decrease the amount of towers. In fact, the amount of towers needed will probably increase. You may have seen, if you drove by, I think probably half mile from our tower is a Verizon small cell. Those types of towers are going to continue to increase in the amount that you see because the demand for capacity is there.
Okay, that answers that question. Thank you.
Okay. Does the planner wish to weigh in? No? Okay. All right, thank you.
No further questions?
Yep. Next item is under old business, site plan 22-13, Dave Constantine.
I knew that was going to happen. Off to a good start. That's it. Everything's all downhill from here. Thank you. James Sarconi, 12900 Hall Road, Suite 350, Sterling Heights, Michigan, 48313, sorry. Here on behalf of the applicant seeking the modification to our site plan that was previously approved. I believe everyone has or should have received a copy of the proposed amendments. What we have on the board there is consistent with what was distributed to the Planning Commission. Previously approved plans, I'll note for reference, had a canopy in the center of the property, canopy over the center parking spaces. There was a sidewalk on the western boundary of the property, which is not on the current version. There was the approved version had trees depicted on the eastern boundary, which is bordering the ITC corridor and the existing berm that's on the ITC property. And the fence that is on the western boundary of the property is now, and it has been installed, as 5 feet closer to the road than what was on the previously approved site plan. So those are the 4 main modifications. I think, I'm sorry, there would be a 5th, which would be the lighting, because of the fact that the canopy's not there, that the lights are depicted in a different area, which is on that site plan, compared to the previously approved site plan. So we're asking that those modifications be approved. With respect to the sidewalk, the property that's immediately adjacent to our property is going to be operated by DTE, and that property does not have or is not intending to have a sidewalk. There isn't anything for us to connect to, and vice versa. As you would head further south, that next property, that cul-de-sac, it's my understanding that's not going to have a sidewalk either. So the sidewalk component was removed for that reason, and based upon other discussions with people in the township. With respect to the eastern boundary and the trees that were on the prior version, we've had some discussions with landscape architects and people from different nurseries about putting arborvitaes there, and with the berm as it exists and the way the water would pitch from the ITC property onto our property, they do not think that the arborvitaes would survive, that they would get flooded out. We had to increase the pipe to a 10-inch diameter pipe, is it, on our property to handle the water, but that doesn't stop the vegetation that would be in that median from being negatively impacted by the water that's flowing from ITC. What we did put in that place, in that area between our property line and the fence, was stone, and obviously a weed barrier. The stone is intended to, one, obviously we think it's an aesthetically pleasing look. It's level, it's clean, it'll prevent weeds from growing in there. The other thing is we're storing vehicles, so
These RVs and these boats, they tend to have, with their wheelbase being considered, the boats themselves will overhang the curb, or the RV would overhang the curb, and so it would be difficult when people are storing there for us to mow grass or service any vegetations there that would be there. Typically, ITC, we have a previous letter, ITC does not want certain types of vegetation in and above their easement area. But the primary reason, as I stated, is the fact that we think it's going to be flooded out and the trees will die. And then two, it's an attractive nuisance, not the way we typically understand one, but that type of vegetation will attract mice, rabbits, and other small rodents, and that's not good for when you're storing vehicles on the property. That's likely going to result in some damage to our customer's property. So that's my thoughts or my comments as to the eastern boundary where we removed the trees from it. I'm trying to think what else did I really need to comment on. That covers the four major changes we made to the site plan. I don't know if anybody's been by there recently, seen it, taken a look, but I didn't print enough, but I have a few pictures of depicting what we were talking about there with respect to the trees on the eastern boundary, as well as, let me see what else I had a picture of for you. And then the rocks in between the fence and the fence and the curb. So if anybody wanted to see some pictures, I can distribute a few of those pictures. And I would note that when it comes to the screening, it's only the northernmost portion of our eastern property line that would be visible by any residents. I took a picture of that. There's two houses that can be seen from our lot. I don't know what their vantage would be from theirs, but from our property, you can only see two residential properties, and that's the northernmost portion of the property there. And I'm happy to circulate some of those pictures if anybody's interested in looking at those. Sorry. Anybody care to have any of those pictures? Sorry.
Thanks.
Mr. Chairman.
I was going to let the planner comment.
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you, Chairman. So as the representative indicated, the overhead canopy was eliminated and the pedestrian sidewalk was also eliminated, and we did that administratively. So those modifications were accepted. The bigger things are the removal, the removal of dumpster and parking spaces, that's neither here nor there. If that's not a service that they want to provide to their customers, that's not a requirement. The site lighting was originally on the canopy, and the perimeter light poles are proposed. They meet the illumination levels for the property line, so I don't have any objections to that. The landscape, the mulched areas were replaced with river rockstone, and then the arborvitaes along with the east property line are proposing to be eliminated. So also, there's a couple of comments from the building department. Clarification is needed regarding the irrigation of the landscaped areas, and the plans require irrigation, and will this be installed? The other comment from the building department is the garage is limited use as a private garage and defined by the building code unless accessible parking is provided. So I think we'll probably need more clarification with that because we're removing some of the parking spaces, so that'll determine the use of the garage.
Okay. I think I can address the irrigation, I think, off the bat, because I was there quite recently, and I'm looking just in the opposite direction, because I think we've already installed the irrigation, so everything that is now on the, my brain gets twisted here, so that would be the western boundary of the property. We have a boulevard, and it's all been grassed in. That is all supported by sprinklers, which are connected. We're still waiting for the electricity to be turned on to run those valves, but we've been otherwise watering it, and we've got that grass growing. So the irrigation is in place there. As to the use of the two-car garage, that I'd have to I think I got to confer and get an answer for you on that specifically. I know it's constructed, I know it's, that it is finished, but I don't have that answer off the top of my head.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Turner?
Thank you. I approved I made a motion to recommend approval of this in November of 2022. At that time, there was no mention about flooding out of arborvitaes. That seems to be a newly minted excuse for not wanting to plant trees on your eastern property line. When you showed those pictures, you circulated them. Thank you for that. But you've got residential homes right beyond the chain link fence looking at what you're going to propose. Now, we have a plan that has no more canopy, the sidewalk, I understand. So you've come in with another plan. You came in with a plan in 2022 that had certain elements on it. Now you seem to be chipping away at what's on there. Now you're coming in and asking us to buy into the proposition. We don't need screening trees on that property because there's a berm. Now, it's questionable to me whether or not that's an actual berm or simply a pile of dirt that's been put there, because I don't know. From my understanding, I'm not sure that the township even knows what went on with that berm. Okay? So, but the excuse that it's going to flood out, no, I don't buy it. I appreciate the opportunity for you to say that, but I'm not buying into that idea and that excuse. So from my perspective, I don't believe that the removal of the arborvitaes makes sense, and I certainly would not want to recommend, from my point of view, removal of those at all. They should be planted as proposed.
Okay.
Thank you.
Am I allowed to, and it's not to respond, I just want to add some color to that, if I may. We have no objection to putting arborvitaes in the sections of the eastern property line that are visible by the residents. The berm is not, I don't think, static in terms of its elevation from north to south. We as well, we purchased the property after that mess of stuff was already there. We're of the position, and we remain of the position, that if that gets removed, we will put trees in along the entire eastern boundary line. We're prepared to commit to that. We're prepared to have that be a condition, but we do believe that we're going to be replacing these probably every spring season because of that amount of water that's going to come there. Our property's not going to flood because we have put sufficient, I think, water control mechanisms in place, but at that spot, that between the base of the ITC corridor and we'll call it our curb, that we believe is going to be pretty well soaked, and that's the reason why we think that vegetation's an issue. We're also open to putting in slats in there. The property directly to the north, not to be comparative, but DTE doesn't have plantings. They're not going to have trees or an ornamental berm. They've got, a fence, and it is what it is. They've got pretty significant structure there. So we're happy to consider, I think, a compromise, but we don't think that the entire eastern boundary would need to be covered with trees when I think only the front or the northern 30% of it would even be visible. That's my thought.
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, Mr. Turner.
I've heard you and I understand what you're saying. Now, let me ask you a question. Is it your contention that ITC will not allow you to plant trees in that easement?
So it's my understanding, did I put that up there, that in 2022, September of 22, that they did provide us a letter, which I can circulate, that references, I don't have it memorized, but the landowner agrees to keep the easement area free of any vegetation that does not meet the ITCT standards for limited vegetation. I cannot tell you as I stand here before you this moment that I have memorized what their standard for limited vegetation is, but I have a correspondence from them that at that time told us that they didn't want vegetation in that easement area. The other thing is it does impact how far the vehicles can park and go up to that curb there. But
Julie, has there been any communication with ITC about whether or not they would permit arborvitaes to be planted in that easement?
Yes, I followed up with DTE maybe about a month ago, and the arborvitaes are approved plantings, and they would allow those types of plants in their easement.
okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Casale.
Yep. So it sounds like we have an issue with the original plan with the arbs, and then we have this berm, and the arbs might not survive with the berm there. And you have said that you'd be willing to, if the berm ever goes away, you'd be willing to plant the arbs, and they would probably live in that area.
Yes.
I don't know how we go about writing a proposal for if and when that would happen and how we enforce that. But thank you for offering that. I will say that I've been to the Tuscany Grove several times, back when this first got approved, to look at the view from back in 2022. I went again today, and I walked in the backyard of those two. This is for the Planning Commission members. I walked in those two properties in their backyard. The northernmost house has a beautiful landscaped pool, and you can't see anything from their backyard. You just can't see out because they've landscaped the area beautifully. The house, the southern house, out of the two, they don't have their door wall is boarded up. They don't have a patio or anything to sit outside. They do have a playscape where the children play. So when you're down from that vantage point, you cannot see past their trees. There is one, I think you already have one trailer parked there, which I could see when I'm in between the two houses, but when you're back there, you cannot see. So that's just for the commission members, just as a note. Now, if we were to approve these modifications tonight, the petitioner would still have to go to the zoning board to have that approval, because the zoning board said you can, I think they reduced their buffer to 10 feet or something, so you do have to go back to the zoning board.
That's correct.
At which time the neighbors will all be notified. And, right?
Yes, and being that this was a special land use, and based on the modifications, it would go to the Township Board and also the Zoning Board of Appeals. They received a variance for the reduction in the screening. Originally, that is a major one screening, and they reduced it, which would require 25 feet in a fence or a wall. And in this case, it was reduced to 10 feet. So with that arborvitae. So they would have to go back in front of the Zoning Board of Appeals, because now we're also eliminating the arborvitaes.
And at that time, the neighbors are notified, and they can come to the zoning board if they have a problem with that.
That is correct.
So I feel good about that the neighbors would be notified if anyone has a problem. Okay, thank you.
So the DTE property is putting water onto your property? Is that what you're contending?
ITC.
ITC.
So, yeah, DTE owns the parcel immediately.
Yeah, I'm sorry, ITC, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Yes, I mean, we had a fair amount of rain in the last few days, and I think it was apparent just today.
To the planner, there's no requirement that they actually maintain the water that's on their, from
Right, so there's a lot of construction going on, and matter of fact, that berm was constructed without anybody's knowledge. It just happened to be there. Somebody was, I don't know, dumping dirt there. I don't know how they got in there. The township is not aware of how that berm got there, but that doesn't mean that they're gonna go, they're gonna go in there and possibly level it out at some point. I know they're doing a lot of construction there, so I'm pretty sure that if they're using it now as a staging area, so maybe when all that's been completed, they'll also level out that berm.
Okay. I remember when this was an issue too, one of the kind of concerns, I mean, it is visible from 24 Mile Road, so that screening doesn't only impact the neighbors directly across from it, but it's also a visual thing for anyone that's traversing that road too as well. So I guess I would hate to, I mean, the other three variances or adjustments I don't have issues with, but in terms of the arborvitaes, or some screening, I think is still appropriate. Any other comments or questions? Okay, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
I guess I do have a question then, prior to the motion. If we're going to make a motion to require screening, is it along the full length of the property and as proposed, and as arborvitaes that may not live, or are we going to give the petitioner a chance to come back with an alternate type of vegetation? What is our proposal?
Well, we were requiring screening, I mean, to alter what they're, some portion of it. Again, that's going to be based sort of on the motion. I mean, if we can also table this and allow them to give other alternatives, or that's fine. That's an option as well. Any other comments or questions? there a motion?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Turner.
I move to recommend approval to the Township Board for the modified site plan special land use number 22-13 Dave Constantine, V&D Investments, for outdoor RV and trailer storage, parcel number 23-07-14-100-063, Shelby Corporate Park, south of 24 Mile Road, east of Shelby Parkway, subject to the submission of 7 sets of final site plans addressing all Planning Commission and site plan comments. The approved modifications are as follows: removal of the dumpster and parking spaces, modification of the site lighting as proposed, replace the landscape mulch areas with river rock stone. However, the request for elimination of the arborvitaes is not supported, and therefore they must be installed according to the approved site plan.
Support.
Moved by Turner, support by Moore. Any questions on the motion? Hearing none. Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Moore?
Yes.
Commissioner Larray?
Yes.
Commissioner Opone?
Yes.
Commissioner Snyder?
Yes.
Commissioner Long?
Yes.
Commissioner Baker?
Yes.
Commissioner Casale?
No.
And the chair votes yes.
Thank you.
Planning Director's report?
I don't have anything, Chairman. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, move to adjourn.
Is there support?
Support?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We're adjourned.